Okay, so good evening, everyone. Again, thank you for taking some time to invest in learning about, literacy, reading, and this is probably for your children. So this is going to be the fifth and last installment for this year. Next year, we'll probably do more of this. But yeah, this is the last one, and I wanted to make this one a little bit shorter and make this one a little bit more practical as well. So let me go ahead and share my screen, and we'll get right started. Okay, so this last one is called incremental rehearsal. And it's a technique that can be used. It's a flashcard technique, essentially. It's an evidence-based, scientifically studied flashcard technique that is great for learning letter names, letter sounds, some basic initial words, but it's not just limited to that too. And that's why I put in parentheses other basic facts. It works well with math facts, any type of of skill set that requires some rote memorization, not critical thinking. So this is not a critical thinking type of skill. This is a technique used to build automaticity. Okay, so incremental rehearsal. Let's get started. All right, just to anchor ourselves where we're working on, the simple view reading, which is the large, broad kind of a point of view of reading. And there's this formula, D times LC equals R, where D is decoding, being able to use your phonics knowledge to decode words, times language comprehension, which is what those words actually mean, the context of those words, equals reading. Okay, so what is reading in our definition? The simple idea of what is reading is being able to decode words efficiently and effectively, and having language comprehension, the background knowledge, the context that goes with it. So when you multiply those two things together, you have reading. You can't have one without the other. And today we'll be focusing on the D side of that equation, not the language comprehension, but we're focusing on the decoding side. Okay, so what you see in red. And as an example of what the decoding is, if a student or a child, a beginner reader, is reading this, the dog is, and they see that word right there, F-A-S-T, fast. And let's say this is the first time that they've ever actually read that word. They've never actually seen it. And S-H-A-G-G-Y. So, put yourself in the shoes of a 4, 5, 6-year-old. You're looking at these letters and you know that it's a word and you have to try to read that word. And there's a lot of ways that you're going to try to figure this out. And the best way that science has told us is to decode that word. Use what you know about the letters and the letter sounds to figure out what that is. So that first word, fast. We look at the individual letters and the letter sounds. So the way that it's marked up here is the F makes the F sound, the A makes the A sound, the S makes the S sound, and the T makes the T sound. So when beginner readers are initially attempting to read a word for the first time, like a brand new word, it's best to try to hold out those sounds, right? So you have the fast, just to get all the sounds together. And then after that, it's good to say, all right, so how do you say that normally, regularly? So once they say the fast, then you can prompt them and they would say fast, fast. Okay, so then it kind of clicks for a second. The same thing with shaggy, right? The first two letters make one sound, sh, A, G, E. And when they're saying that for the first time, because that might look really strange to them, they're trying to use whatever decoding knowledge that they have. Shaggy. Oh, that's shaggy. Shaggy. Okay. So, that's essentially what decoding is, using the letters and the letter sounds to break the code. Any questions before I continue? Okay. So let's keep moving. All right. So, we talked about how kids encounter new words. They use these letter sounds to decode these words. And then after a couple times, hopefully it becomes part of their sight vocabulary. All right. Now, these words, these example words that I'm showing you, like fast, shaggy, trust, click, must, on, dad, mom, not, okay? What do students need to know to read these words? Right? Like, what do they really need to know? What's one of the first things? So in the past, we talk about we've spoken about phoneme and phonological awareness. That's to be able to hear the sounds, like be able to know that there are individual sounds, what we call phonemes. But to actually start to read the words, they need to know what each letter or combination of letter, what that corresponding sound is. So the letter sounds knowledge to automaticity. So what do they need to know? They need to know the letter sounds to automaticity. And what I mean by automaticity is that they shouldn't have to think about a letter and its corresponding sound. If it takes a long time, and by long, I mean more than 3 seconds, for them to see a letter and then recognize the sound that goes with it, it's not automatic. And the example I like to give is, let's say, you're trying to read this word, must, and you're 4 years old, 5 years old, 6 years old. You've never seen it for some reason. And when you try to decode it, it takes you like 5 seconds for each of those letters. So the M, you're thinking, oh, it's the sound. Okay, then you go the second sound, the U sound, and you're thinking, what's the U sound? What's the U sound? And you might know the S sound, S, and you know the T sound, T. But because it took so long, maybe like 20 seconds in total, to take those individual sounds, it's almost hard to remember the first sound. So when you go back and you try to blend it all together, you're like, wait, what was the M sound again? It was okay, then the U. If your brain has to think very quickly about, I mean, very deliberately, and it takes a lot of work, it becomes very difficult to read. That's why letter sound knowledge to automaticity is very, very important. Just like when you look at numbers, if you see the number 5 and you have to think about, well, how much is 5? That's not very helpful. When you see numbers, it automatically clicks. So, the goal is to try to get letters and letter sounds to automaticity. And by that, we mean if we can get it under 3 seconds, really good. And as they get older, it should be even less and less, where it takes less than 2 seconds, less than 1 second, and to the point where they see a letter and they automatically know. So, how do we get to automaticity? And this is where the technique that we're going to talk about is useful. Now, this is just one technique, and it involves flashcards, which makes it easy. And the reason why we say flashcards is because you don't have to buy anything. You don't have to. It's very labor labor simple. You know, you can just make whatever you need to make. You can grab some paper and a marker and build your flashcards. So incremental rehearsal is a technique that has been studied, and it works pretty well, and it's able to be modified as well. So it's good for simple memorization and association. Like I said before, only requires flashcards. It's great for letter names, letter sounds, numbers, shapes, math facts, vocabulary. Okay, so, you know, even though this is a reading workshop, it applies to very, very basic math concepts as well, and vocabulary as well. It is not a tool for higher level analysis or critical thinking. It's more of just the basic facts. And it is research and evidence-based. So there have been multiple studies done to support this technique. So how do we set up incremental rehearsal? The first step is to divide the flashcards into known and unknown piles. So if you have flashcards, and if you can kind of see, I have like a stack of flashcards here. Okay. The first thing you have to do is you have to figure out what your child or the student knows and doesn't know. And by that, you're going to have to ask them, okay, here's this. And if they know it, you put it in the known pile. If they don't know it, you put it in the unknown pile. So you divide out what is known and what is unknown. And then you pick out 9 of the known cards from the known pile and 1 unknown card from the unknown pile, and you have a total of 10 cards. So that ratio is 9 to 1, 9 known to 1 unknown. And we'll talk about this later. You can modify that ratio, but the study does use 9 to 1. So after you've picked your 9 known and 1 unknown, you explain and show and teach what that unknown card is, and then have the child read and repeat the unknown card orally to make sure that they understood exactly what you said. So after you explain what the unknown card is, then you'll show one of the known cards, and then you'll start back again with the unknown, then continue to the known, and then a second known, then return to the unknown card. And with these directions, I know it might be hard to visualize or understand, but I'll have an example here, and then I'll actually do it with you guys so you can kind of see it in action. So you're going to do this, the unknown, known, unknown, known, known, unknown, known, known, known. You do that until all 10 cards have been completed without a mistake. And then the unknown card becomes known, and you can put it in the known pile. So here's an example with a 9 to 1 ratio. And the known card is a K, and the unknown card is a UN. Okay, so in the first round, I show the unknown card, and then I show the first known card. Then I start back from the beginning. I show the unknown card, then the first known, then the second known. Then I go back to the unknown card again, first known, second known, third known. You go back again for the 4th time, and you keep going until on round 9, you've completed the unknown and all 9 knowns. And then that unknown card, that yellow card, becomes known. So in total, you'll have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. 9 instances where the child has to recall the unknown card. But between that, they also have the known cards. So there's a little bit of what neuroscientists like to call interleaving, where you're taking some old concepts and a new concept, and you're kind of mixing it up and spacing it out. That forces the brain to kind of go back and forth, back and forth. And that back and forth between what you know and what you don't know, new concepts and old concepts, is a very good way to learn new things. So just keep that in mind. This is a 9-to-1 ratio because by the 9th round, you'll see the unknown and then the 9 knowns. Okay, so alphabetic sequence. So let's just imagine here that here are your letters, and in blue, let's say that the child knows those first 6 letters, or maybe even the first 7, but for now, we'll just do the first 6. So MATDOG, oh, DOC. Anything in red, the child doesn't know yet. So continuing with that idea, we're going to divide the known and known piles. So maybe they know these. I did 7 instead of 6. So pretend a student knows 7 letters and doesn't know 19 letters. We'll divide it out, and I'll pick one of the unknown letters, like I. So this is the target. It's just going to be one. We're only going to pick one. We have the 9 knowns here, MATDOG. There's 7, but I need 2 more. So it doesn't even have to be letters. It could be anything that they know. So maybe this child knows 1 and 2. The numbers 1 and 2. You can mix it up with other things that they do know. You show them what the letter is, the target letter, I. It makes a sound, eh. And then you go to the known, Then you present the unknown, eh. And then you go back to the knowns, ah. Go back to the unknown. And then you continue with the knowns until all of these are completed. And then you move the unknown card to the known pile. And then you pick another target unknown letter sound. All right, so let's try this together. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to have Kathleen Molina be my student. And I will be either the parent or the teacher, whatever it may be. And hopefully you can see this. I'm going to stop this. And I'm just going to switch out my camera real quick. Okay. Hopefully oh, there we go. Okay. Can you see that?
Yes.
Okay. So I have a known pile and an unknown pile. And step 1 tells me, okay, I need Kathleen to figure out what you know and what you don't know. So, Kathleen, I'm going to show you some cards, some letters, and I want you to tell me the sound of the letter. Okay, not the name of the letter, the sound.
Ah.
All right, good. I'm going to put that in the known pile.
B.
Good. Known. Okay. I'm going to put that in unknown because generally that's going to be the sound.
D.
Good.
E.
Okay, so unknown. Good.
G.
Good.
I.
Okay.
J. K. O. Mm. Mm. Ah. B. How do you mispronounce that? Qu. Sorry, that's a known.
Good.
S.
think you just muted yourself.
I did, as I hear my daughter coming down the stairs.
Okay. Give me that one.
Whoa.
Okay.
Whoa.
Good. Almost done.
Yeah. Z.
Okay, so, I finished the alphabet. If you wanted to do other things as well, I could also say, all right, I'm going to show you some things. Can you tell me the shapes?
Square. Circle. Rectangle.
Here are some numbers. Can you tell me the name of the number?
1, 5, 3, 4,
And last one.
6.
Okay. So as you can see now, in this instance, I'm not going to use any numbers or shapes, but you could use these if you wanted to. I'm just going to put those off to the side. But now I have my pile. I have my known cards and my unknown cards. And typically, if you're saying, all right, I'm going to work on letters and letter sounds, you're going to only have to do this once. And then you'll always have your piles unless you mix them up, and then you have to start from the beginning. So it looks like Kathleen has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 unknown cards. So these are the ones we're going to have to work on. All right. And she's got a lot of known cards. So the directions for incremental rehearsal say to pick 9 of the known ones. It doesn't even matter which ones, just 9 of them. So I'm going to pick 9 knowns randomly. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Okay. So, and I can put the rest of the known cards away. So I have 9 knowns and just 1 unknown. So we're only going to focus on one. So let's do the I sound. That's our target. All right. And I'll put that off to the side as well. 9 to 1. That's our ratio. And I'm going to start with the unknown. So we're on round 1. All right, Kathleen. Do you see this letter that I'm holding in front of you?
Yes.
Okay, it's the letter I, and it makes the sound eh. Can you say eh?
Eh.
Good. So this is the letter I. It makes a sound eh. Now I'm going to go to my first known card. Can you tell me the sound?
Ah.
Good. That's round 1. I'm going to go back to my unknown. What's the sound?
Eh.
First known.
Ah.
Second known.
Qu.
Back to the beginning. Unknown.
Eh.
First known.
Ah.
Second known.
Qu.
Add the third known.
S.
Okay, so we've done 3 of those. Back to the beginning.
Eh. Ah. Qu. S.
And I'm going to add my 4th one. Good. Back to the unknown.
Eh.
Good.
Ah. Qu. S. T.
Add another known.
Yeah.
Back to the beginning.
Eh. Ah. Qu. S. T. E. Yeah.
Say that one more time again.
It's hard to not say yeah. I'm trying not to add the schwa at the end of it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yep. Okay, good. And then I'm going to add, I think we're on number 6 already. Here's the next known. Yep, good. So what you're also seeing here as we continue, we're taking prior knowledge and then mixing it up with only one unknown, not two, not 2 or 3 or 4, just one. All right, so we're gonna continue back to the unknown.
Eh. Ah. Qu. S. T. Yeah.
Yep. Number 7, known.
D. Eh. Ah. Qu. S. T. Yeah. D.
Number 8.
Z.
Good. All right, one more round.
Eh. Ah. Qu. S. T. Yeah. D. Z. Ah.
Good. So we have completed 9 rounds. She has successfully said eh many times, 9 times in fact. And in that last round, she got this one, the unknown, and all knowns correct. So this unknown card, the eh, now becomes a known card. So this, along with the other known cards, are now in the known pile. And now instead of 5 unknown, there are 4. And, depending on your child, you can stop. So that took about 10 minutes. And we mastered one letter sound. But if your child is really excited, enthusiastic, you could theoretically do one more. If they're a little older too, and they can sit for a while, another 10 more minutes, then you could introduce a second sound, but you don't have to. The other thing I will say is that you can modify this. If your child, automatically is getting it and you realize, all right, we probably don't have to do 9 rounds, you can play with that ratio a little bit. So instead of 9 to 1, what you can do is maybe pick out 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, do 6, and then pick one of the unknowns so that it goes a little bit, it'll go a little quicker, but it's the same general idea. You do the unknown, then you do the first known, then you go back to the unknown, then you do the first and the second unknown, and then continue with that pattern. And then if that is good, it becomes a known. This obviously can be done for math. If your child is struggling with basic addition and subtraction, multiplication. So addition, subtraction, we're talking about 1st and 2nd grade here. Struggling third graders will be working on math, multiplication math facts. You can do the same thing with that, and division. Um, what you don't want to do, and I have to be very clear about this, is that you don't want to teach kids whole words that are that you're trying to have them memorize. So if you remember the example that I gave, you don't want to have whole words. So if you were to do a flashcard with trust and little, these types, and then just tell them, look at this and memorize it. Because remember the simple view of reading is that we want our kids to be skilled at decoding, not memorizing whole words. So, you know, the letters and letter sounds we can memorize to automaticity. And once they have that skill and they start to add more of the phonics, the other phonics patterns, you won't have to memorize trust. You can just sound out trust. Trust. And if you decode it, they say for, you know, skilled readers, 4 times you decode it, it becomes a sight word. You don't have to memorize it as a whole unit. And the better that you become decoding, the quicker it becomes part of your sight vocabulary. So, you know, I just wanted to put that out there, that this is not a method for learning whole words and memorizing whole words. This is just a method for memorizing the most basic facts. Letters, letter sounds, numbers, basic math facts. And even with basic math facts, I have to say, it only is good to teach them basic math facts if they understand conceptually what adding is, what subtracting is, what multiplication is. Not just remembering a pattern where, oh, 5x2 line 10. If it doesn't mean anything, then it's worthless as well. So that conceptual understanding is very important. So that is an example of incremental rehearsal, research-based, scientifically proven in multiple studies. And that's just one way of teaching letters and letter sounds. In this example, it took us about 10 minutes to do one target, one unknown letter. And that includes dividing out the pile between known and unknowns. Once you divide it out, you won't have to do that again. And so theoretically, if you did this 2 or 3 times a week, you could knock out 3 letters and be, you know, in a couple, it goes by pretty quickly. So, you know, that is one example of learning letters and letter sounds. Are there any questions? Any questions at all? It could pertain to incremental rehearsal, what we just went over, or just reading in general. I'll do my best to.
I have a question.
Yes.
Hi, this is Isabel.
Hey.
My son is 3. He'll be 4 in December, but I'm starting to practice letters with him. Hopefully, I'm not too late. And he has his I don't know how to say it. It sounds like he has an accent, but he's not pronouncing the letters well, and he gets easily frustrated because I know that he has it like, Mom, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
But I'm not sure if I should just continue to repeat it and just congratulate him for saying it in the first place, or persist on the sound to have him mimic my voice.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, it is. It's not too late. You haven't missed that boat for sure. Because even in kindergarten, part of the standard kindergarten curriculum across the United States basically is to make sure that they mastered letters and letter sounds. So, you know, 3 years old, 4 years old, even 5 years old, part of the beginning of the year curriculum in kindergarten is to ensure that every child has mastered the letters and letter sounds. As far as pronunciation of letters and letter sounds. I'm not a definitive authority on this, but what I can say to help is, is your child, are you trying to exaggerate and show the formation of your mouth and your tongue, and also where certain things are in your mouth as you say those words? So I've heard if you say a certain, like, your tongue should not be touching anything, like the P sound, your tongue is just kind of hanging there in the middle, and you want to try to explain that their tongue isn't where it's supposed to be, or it's not supposed to be. I'm sorry. I've also have had PDs where they said, okay, have your child kind of look at one of your either a mirror to make sure that what they're seeing in their mouth is matching what you're seeing, what you're showing them. So that mouth formation is important. And if you truly are concerned about it, you can bring it up. It would, if there really is an issue, they could be, they could qualify for speech services if that's truly the case, which would require some testing as well, though. Kathleen might be able to speak a little more on that.
He's actually already receiving speech therapy, so it's
yeah.
helpful.
So I mean, that's pretty much, I think, all that you can do is, hopefully get some input on what the speech therapist is doing. Maybe they can give some recommendations. And the only thing I could say is the formation and the placement of the tongue and that kind of stuff. Yeah, and yeah, I think that's all that can be done, at least for now.
Yeah, so I would just add that, the New Jersey standards for preschool talk about exposure to associating letters and letters with their names and some of the more frequent sounds that they make. But it's a skill that is worked on in preschool, but continues into kindergarten. So it's not an expectation that children know all of these. As preschool, the curriculum is really more about exposure, lots and lots of language and lots of exposure and lots of practice and learning those things. But they're not really expected to master those skills till they get a little bit older. And I was trying to look up, I'm not going to do it right now, but I can share it with you via email tomorrow. But the assessment that we use with the curriculum has a continuum. So it's, the subjective, the skill that we're practicing, but there's a continuum, and nobody, it's not expected that everyone lands at this one spot or gains this certain skill at the same time or the same age. So especially right now, I think what you're doing and practicing and encouraging, I think that's great. And he's getting lots of exposure at school too. But that little bit of worry that I hear in your voice, it sounds like you already have access to a lot of resources that are kind of on top of him, and he's getting that practice with those skills that he needs now, and he still has time to develop and grow. And I can't speak to the specifics of the research about the tongue formation and how their mouths are still changing, but they are, because they're still growing and the teeth are coming in, and they're, it's everything's sort of moving. So I think they're able to progress in that, that pronunciation, that muscle, the muscles in their mouths and their tongues and the way that it forms different sounds and things. So there's also two different things that you're kind of talking about, is the sounds and the letter recognition. But either way, I think that it sounds like you're doing everything that you should be doing, except I wouldn't stress too much, if I can say that right now, because it sounds like he's going to be getting lots of practice. So
thank you.
Sure.
I guess I can add a little bit to that. So like I was mentioning before, and just the reading is a combination of not just decoding, but then there's this other huge part of reading, which is language comprehension. Language comprehension is just knowing knowing vocabulary, knowing background knowledge, all these other things. Because just because you can decode a word, like the word, like we said right here, shaggy, if you can decode that word and say shaggy, shaggy, but if you don't have the language comprehension, which is what that word actually means, whether or not you've encountered that, whether or not you can put that into context, that's not reading as well. So, you know, it is important to focus on letters and letter sounds as early as possible, but also to just expose them to a breadth of vocabulary and knowledge and experiences, because that helps them make sense of what they're reading. And for anyone who is a parent of preschoolers, so, you know, preschoolers, remember I was talking about like the 9-to-1 ratio. A lot of times your preschoolers don't know, they don't have 9 knowns. So that pile that Kathleen created had like, you know, 15, 19 knowns and maybe only 4 or 5 unknowns. Well, a preschooler might be reversed. They might only know 3 or 4 letters and 21 unknowns. So in that case, you know, it doesn't, like I said before, it doesn't have to be letters. So if you need to get to 9, mix it up with the 3 or 4 letters that they know, add some shapes, even if it's like a picture, like, who's this? Oh, it's mommy. And it can be any known, whether or not it's letters, numbers, shapes, colors, images, you know, what is this? Tree. Okay. So because all it is it's interleaving different concepts so that the brain has to focus on one thing and then recall the unknown thing and kind of go back and forth. That's what is that's what's important. So I know that I said 9-to-1, that ratio, but it doesn't really have to be 9. It doesn't have to be just that one topic. It could be, you know, mixed up. Any other questions? Okay, so this is recorded, so I think we'll be able to you know, send this out along with the PowerPoint. In fact, if you want to right now, I can just share the PowerPoint with you if you just want to take a look at it.